Allow me to explain. Back around 2015, a company called M3D made this printer called the Micro. Their Kickstarter campaign raised $3.5 million, which is still in the top 10 campaigns for 3D printers. I'll give you their Kickstarter pitch. We've built the Micro with reliability, consistency, and accessibility in mind. This means that every time you run the printer it works, even after thousands of hours of use. The Micro is not only a useful tool, but it makes 3D printing an enjoyable experience for the everyday person. While I wasn't one of the Kickstarter backers, I got pretty excited about the idea that I can push a button and it spits out a part, so I paid them $399, which in today's dollars is, depressing. Anyway. This thing was supposed to be able to print PLA, ABS. Without a heated print bed, printing ABS was more aspirational. They either made or planned to make a heated print bed for it, but I never got one for it. Initially, I was able to get some pretty low quality and brittle PLA parts out of it, but I would never call it consistent. And as time went on, it just got to the point where it just wouldn't extrude at all. It would either just fail or bird's nest. It was also horribly slow, so when it did fail, it usually took a long time to do so. And in the unlikely event that it did succeed without dropping any steps, the part was not really useful for anything anyway. Just for kicks for this video, I did decide to throw some fresh filament in it and try to print a benchy. And somewhat surprisingly, it did actually work. It took about 3 hours and 45 minutes to do it, and you can see that's pretty terrible. You've got some gaps between layers and just generally not very good looking. I wasn't alone in my experience with this, and some of the other reviews said there's really no plug and play in 3D printing. The whole idea of push the button, get the part really wasn't there, and the whole experience kind of turned me off on 3D printing. Not too long after that, I got a CNC router, and that fulfilled a lot of my needs for turning models into parts, and I never really looked back. I got this K-Weld battery spot welder kit, and the housing for it I was supposed to 3D print, but I just chopped it out of a solid piece of plastic on the CNC, and that worked pretty well. Move forward 10 years since I bought the M3D, and if you watch these sort of videos, you know that Bambu Labs has been doing two things really well: making printers that work well consistently out of the box, and influencer marketing. So when they approached me and asked me if I'd be interested in one of their A1 printers, I said, no thanks. I told them basically what I just told you and said that if I have a printer in my shop, it needs to be able to do useful, durable parts for my projects. So it needs to be an enclosed printer that can do the fancier materials like ASA, ABS, and whatever the cool kids are printing these days.
I don't actually know that much about 3D printing.
So they sent me this. This is the P1S combo. It's got a build volume of... You know what? You've seen enough of these videos. If you want to know all the specs, I'll leave that up to you. You'll also know all of the usual disclaimers about they sent this to me for free, my opinions, they didn't get to see blah blah. Let's cut to the chase. Can this thing change my mind about 3D printing? Yeah, it can. Well, let's compare the benchy that took almost 4 hours from the M3D to one that the P1S did in 26 minutes. And is much higher quality, feels much stronger, and while neither of these are useful for anything outside of testing the 3D printer, the system is getting to a point where it's actually useful. But I still have mixed feelings about 3D printing, and I'll get to that later, but I'll walk you through my experience with this. And I'm going to come at this from the approach of someone who doesn't really want to spend a lot of time poring over the sort of minutia about slicer settings and generally nerd out on things. I mean, I've got a whole shop full of tools made out of old junk, and 80-year-old machines that need constant attention, so if I feel the need to tinker and tune things, I've got plenty of opportunities to get that fix. Honestly, I didn't even read the manual that came with it any more than I had to, with the intention of seeing just how close it comes to push the button, get the part. The first thing I did was just use the Bambu app on my phone to download a model and print a poop chute, because in 2015, apparently 3D printers poop. We're living in the future, and it sure is weird. I loaded up the sample spool of the orange PLA that came with the machine, hit print, and it printed perfectly fine, until that sample spool ran out. It sent me a notification right on my phone that said it needed more filament. I switched to blue PLA, and it picked up right where it left off, which for someone that hasn't touched a 3D printer in 10 years, I found that pretty impressive. As an aside, not being a 3D printing enthusiast, it seems a little weird to me to have to make something that seems like it should be part of the design of the machine, but I guess that's part of the 3D printing culture, so when in Rome. The next one was another model I downloaded off their library for some wire spools. Apparently I had a lot of disorganized wire and needed a lot of spools for them. I kind of just ran these in between doing other parts. but it gave me an opportunity to test out some of the different materials they sent me, and also means I can go over them with you now instead of having to mention them every time I showed them in the video again. The blue is PLA. Mostly using this for test parts and working out designs. It's the easiest and cheapest to print, but it's the least durable, and I've already had a few of these break. Partly because this design isn't very strong. I could benefit from having a little fillet in there, but that's what the 3D printing cynic in me expects and kind of hates PLA. The orange is ABS. It's kind of the old school go-to for real parts. Black is ASA. It's a lot like ABS, but more UV resistant. And the gray is Bambu's TPU for AMS. It's apparently a good bit harder and stiffer than the normal TPU filaments used for 3D printing. And there's a pretty good chance this might be my new favorite thing. Oops. Okay. Well, that broke, but it does demonstrate something pretty neat, because usually the problem with 3D prints is weakness between the layers, but TPU has pretty good layer adhesion, and because it's somewhat flexible, it can soak up some of that shear in the material rather than concentrating it between the layers. So while this broke, it didn't break along the layer lines. This stuff's legitimately pretty tough, and I can see myself using this for a lot of things in the future. Now that I've checked the requisite boxes for 3D printing accessories and shop organization, let's make some real parts for things. I recently got this 2009 Tacoma, and working on updating it, upgrading, put in one of the head units that does all of the phone things. It's got a couple of USB inputs. I just pulled out one of the little switch blanking plugs and ran it through there, which works, but, well, you see where this is going. This one really pushed my design abilities and knowledge. Making something that fits in that hole isn't too much of a problem. I got these little USB breakout cards, but figuring out how to fit that into there, well, it took about that many tries. The issue was these walls got really thin, and I need something that'll snap in there to keep it from pushing back out the back. That's the wrong one. Might be just a hair too tight. That just broke. Alright, print it again. Even though one of the little locking tabs broke off, I decided to go ahead and test fit it in the truck. I think the tabs that hold it in there might have broken a little bit too, but it seems like it's such a tight fit that it should be fine. So I'm going to say I'm pretty happy with that and call that one done. I'm just waiting for you to finish typing the comment saying I should have laid it on its side and printed it that way so it wasn't flexing across the layer lines. Took a lot of support that way, but taking the little support trees off is kind of fun. That one will just go in the glove box as a spare. The head unit's also got a provision for a backup camera. Since this is a base model, it has the wiring, a little block-off plate where the stock one would be. And after a bunch of design iterations, I've got something that should work for mounting the one that came with the stereo. I think I'll wire that in later, because this is a 3D printing video and not a wiring video. Once I wire that up, I'll probably have to reprint it 5 more times to get the angle right, but I think that looks pretty good. Both of those I'd call pretty low-hanging fruit. They don't really need to be all that durable, and I probably could have spent some time with one of the existing switch blanks and a Dremel and some hot glue and just glued a USB cord in there, but doing this was way more satisfying, and I learned a lot about iterating designs and tolerances in 3D printing, even if I didn't really want to. Moving on. I need a cover for this little slot in this battery case, so I printed one in ASA. Actually, the first one was a little bit too tight, and I actually need 10 of these. So I went back, scaled it, and printed 12 more. That should hold up pretty well, and I actually really like that texture on it. It makes it look like it's not 3D printed. This is an inverter from a 2nd generation Toyota Prius. It's just like the one that's in my Jeep EV conversion project, except it's a lot easier for me to show you, and well, I might have gotten carried away and already installed the part that I made for it. I want to make a piece to mount the cable glands here for the motor phase wires. I found a pretty rough model that somebody had drawn up online for one of these. Added some threaded holes to it. Space is pretty tight on this, so I want the cable gland to just thread directly into these. So I just printed the threads in there. I know a lot of times people will do threaded inserts that they melt in, but when the thread is M24, that's not really the best option. The print quality is not quite good enough to print them directly into the thing. Kind of binds up. So I got an M24 tap, and chasing them seems to work pretty well. But all that would be holding that in place are these screws. I'd like to have it kind of index into that a little better. So I did a series of pieces to try to figure out the size and shape of that, because it's not actually just an oval. And then I did one that has a little piece that registers on the bottom there, and that's really nice. So then I printed one that has those features and the threaded holes. The problem with that one is there's not enough room on these outside holes to get the cable lugs through. I tried spacing them out a little bit better and thinning down the wall, but then the holes were too close together to get the cable glands in. So I finally came up with one that has them slightly angled, and that solves all the problems. This was actually one of the few failures I had. I turned this thing onto sport mode, because it has sport mode. And it looks like it flung a little piece off the bed down below. Since this was just a test piece, I let it keep going, and it actually recovered and finished pretty well. Once I was happy with the design, I printed it in high voltage appropriate orange ABS. Probably the thing that I've come to appreciate most about 3D printing is I can sit around in my pajamas in the evening, design a part, hit print, and have a part waiting for me in the shop in the morning, even if it's not exactly right. I think the point of all of this is doing the small fiddly bits and brackets that make a huge project take forever just got a lot easier for me. That's going to be a huge help in making progress on this project. And it's almost becoming a solution looking for problems to solve, but as long as I've got problems to solve, that's probably not a bad thing. I also printed a block-off plate for the opening under here, but that one's a little too flimsy for my taste. So I printed one out of TPU as a gasket. Next time I fire up a plasma cutter, I'll cut one out of aluminum. I also made this as a little wire organizer sort of thing. This one's just kind of an example, but that's the sort of thing that's going to be super handy when I'm running cables through the chassis. Let's talk about other failures, because I did have a few, and mostly it was bed adhesion issues when printing with ASA. ASA and ABS are really prone to warping as they cool, which makes them peel up from the bed and come loose. Once I started printing with a brim around the parts, I basically stopped having that problem. If we're evaluating against the standard of push the button, get the part, I'd give it a passing grade, but with the caveat that you still have to know a little bit about what you're doing. Related to that, I struggle a little bit with the Bambu slicer. I'm not used to checking all of the settings each time, and I haven't really figured out when the settings reset and when they stay the same when you load new models and that sort of thing. So sometimes I get a brim or support material when I'm not expecting it, or don't get it when I am expecting it. And I think over time I'll just get used to going through and checking everything a little bit closer. And while I'm doing minor gripes, let's talk about filament drying. There's no canned filament drying cycles on this, you have to do it manually. To me that just seems like one of those software things that's not enabled to differentiate the higher end machine. But I did have one print fail, or I guess fail to start, because I'm an idiot, and it's not idiot-proof enough to say, hey dummy, you're drying filament right now. I also wish that the AMS had a drying feature, but oh, apparently they just announced that there are 2 new AMS units coming that have active filament drying. Let's also talk about the other issue that people are having with Bambu Labs right now. This black box, a lot like this black box, is bit of a black box. You're semi-locked into the Bambu ecosystem. In the short time I've been using it, I would say that it functions acceptably. Maybe not perfectly, but certainly acceptably. And all indications are that doing repairs aren't a problem. Would it be nice if all of it was open source? Sure, but it's also nice if it works, which it seems to do. Overall, I'd say I'm impressed with it. It works really well, and I'd say this is pretty darn close to what a 3D printer should be, and I'm going to use the crap out of it on my projects. But I do still have some mixed feelings about 3D printing in general. Let me show you my coffee grinder. This had a broken lid, and it was pretty tough to get to trip the little safety switch. I found a model online that someone had made for a different model, same make of coffee grinder for the lid. I've modified it to fit this one. This is transparent PETG, which didn't come out transparent. To be fair, this wasn't a bamboo filament, and I just ran it as a generic PETG. So it might have come out better if I had used something that was in their library or, actually looked up how to print with transparent filament. That's beside my point. This is something I'm going to be using every day. It's going to be subjected to some stress and vibrations, and it'll be a really good test to see how durable it actually is. And if it breaks, I'll push the button and get another one. And that's the thing I don't like. The thing that I've been chasing, the sort of idea of push the button, get the part, makes these things feel somewhat disposable to me. Not in a it's not durable, it's not going to last, throw it away sort of way, but in a way like I don't have a connection to these and I can just make another one. Even if I invest a lot of time in drawing up a model, I don't even have to be in the same building as this machine to get it to spit out a part. The top of this stool was cut on my CNC router, but I still had to glue up the wood, set up both sides, sand it afterwards. The base was mostly cut on the CNC plasma cutter, but it also took a bit of hand cleanup, then welding. So it feels like something that I made using my machines. But I just don't really get that sort of feeling from any of this. It's just something that the machine spits out. Maybe doing this video has made me really overthink my feelings about 3D printing, or maybe I'm just being some sort of elitist, gatekeeping maker. I have to wonder if in 50 years anybody's going to have something up on their shelf or in their toolbox or in their shop that they look at with some sentimentality because Grandpa 3D printed it. But if I can make something that I'm proud of, and 3D printing parts for it makes it possible or even just easier to get it done, well, even if I don't love 3D printing, I can't say that I hate it either.